let's talk about families. Welcome to our first episode of Family Fridays, and what we're going to be doing basically this time around is contemplating what we're going to be doing with Family Fridays, and then I am going to send you home with some homework. Family Fridays is going to be specifically, initially, detailing the idea of the devotional life of the family. How do we raise our children in terms of their faith and to become good Christians, good stewards of that which is given them. Being a good steward is a huge responsibility because we see the way that God has called us to manage the world around us. We see how He calls us to manage the resources given to us, how we are to lead our lives. And all of these things are the result of God in our lives. It's honoring the Father through the sacrifice of the Son, empowered by the Holy Spirit. So this becomes the paradigm by which we parent, or grandparent, or aunt, or uncle. So it becomes a case of the family as a cohesive unit is raising up the children in the family. We initially will be dealing with the idea of the devotional life of the family because I've heard in more than one situation where the question has been raised, how do I lead devotions for my children? Reasonable question, especially when we consider that historically this is a practice that has fallen more and more into the realm of the family, and there hasn't necessarily always been tools presented by which the family is able to do these things. Earlier on, and in some cases yet today, the family has the ability to go to worship every day, especially in the Roman Catholic tradition. You can go to morning mass, evening mass, afternoon mass, that the ability to have that devotional life is there. But I want to go through, and before we discuss devotions and ways that we can approach these things, I want to give you two bits of homework. The first piece of homework is to figure out the focus of what you're doing. Here, in this picture, you can see the garage that is being built next to my house. Now, this past February, we had a garage fire that destroyed the garage, and the result is that this new one is being built. But when we had the new one built, the construction workers didn't just come in and haphazardly say, cool, let's build a garage. Instead, what they did was one person came through and looked at the foundation to make sure that the concrete was still good. And then they began to run lumber in order to build the walls. And then once the walls were up, they built a roof. And while all of these things were going on, there was bracing inside. And as you see in the picture, they're putting other things up. So there is an intentionality in that building. Now we're talking about building the faith of our children inside of devotions. So what we need to be conscious of is an intentional approach to how we're going to build them up. So the first assignment that I want you to contemplate is, what is the purpose of the devotions? Are you wanting to go through and instill faith into your child? Now imagine that will be in everything you do, but when you contemplate the age of your student or your child, you need to also be thinking about what they can cognitively handle. Maybe for a kindergartner, you're going to have them memorize the 10 Commandments. Maybe when they're hitting junior high, you're going to start having them tell you about the 10 Commandments. Begin moving that understanding along in a reasonable manner, and you can do this through your devotional life. But you have to be intentional and focused. You have to realize what you're trying to do. It could be a case of, if you're a family that's new to the faith, that you just need to dig into the Bible. You need to know more about what's actually there. So that might be a case of, the purpose of what you're going to do is introduce your family to the patriarchs, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Now this doesn't mean that they have to be long-running things. You can have devotions that are relatively short and still get through to where you want to be, but you have to have that focus. So, number one, what's your focus? What's your goal? What are you trying to do? Number two is find the time. That I want you to go through and find those moments in the coming week where you have the ability to actually interact with your children in meaningful ways. We're going to be going through and discussing how my family has done it in some cases, or other ideas that I've heard in later episodes, and I'm hoping, I don't know how this is going to work, but I'm hoping to use the camera and to invite you into my family as we go through and do some of these things. This could meet with complete failure, or it could work out somewhat well, but you know what, we're going to go along for the ride together. So that would be the second thing that I want you to contemplate, is when would you, in your family's life, have the opportunity to have devotions? Just because we always talk about in the morning and right before bed doesn't mean that that's the best for you or your family. When is that time that works out best for you and your family? So those are your two pieces of homework for next week as we prepare to go into and contemplate the devotional life of the family and the various concerns and issues that are involving our families nowadays as grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, as we raise up our children in a godly way. So number one, what is your focus? And the best thing that you could do for next week is to develop the idea of how you want to approach this. For my family, I have a 7-year-old and a 10-year-old. So the focus isn't always into the Bible basics, because I have the joy of my son being in a Lutheran day school, so he's hearing the Bible stories every day. And then my daughter was also in a Lutheran day school for years, and you can hear in her that she knows the Bible stories well. So what we try to do is lift the kids up in the tradition of the church, maybe learning a prayer. Or also, as we do these things, to kind of push the understanding along, acknowledging the fact that they are 7 and 10. I'm not expecting them to answer as if they were in college. And we spend a lot of time focusing on those 5 chief parts in the catechism. Now, you might be wondering what the catechism is. If you're not a member of the LCMS, and that's fine, just hang on and come along with me for a bit, because we're going to start discussing tools and books and opportunities and things that are out there and available to help lead us through devotions and devotional life inside the church and inside our own families. So that's number one. What's your focus? What are you trying to do? Look at the age of your kids and figure out how you want devotions to kind of go, and then what you're expecting them to walk away from. And try to make that one sentence. It's brutal, but try to make it a 7 to 10 word sentence so that you have focus. Number 2, look at the times inside your family and find those moments when you pretty much on a day-to-day basis would have the opportunity to sit and chat with them. When would you be able to actually say, okay, we're doing devotions now, and to move it into it? So I want you to watch for those moments, figure them out, and then next Friday I'm going to talk to you about one way that my family has engaged our devotional life in the past. We don't do it now currently because it doesn't fit in, quite candidly, but it worked really well at the time we used it. So, until next Friday, when we come back to discuss Family Fridays, I pray that God blesses you, that He keeps you, that you remain healthy, and I look forward to seeing you Sunday at either Reedlands or St. Paul's in Reedland or Emmanuel in Klinger. And we look forward to meditating with you from the Gospel of John during the week with our morning meditations. We look forward to discussing our worship in Worship Wednesdays. And now we anticipate coming back together again next week on Friday as we contemplate our families. With that, God bless.